Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, back here with Curt. Got an exciting video, got a lot of questions, around, oh, rating points, does this lead the revenue? And people wanted to chat, asking comparison type questions. So I messaged Curt, I said, would love to do it, as an industry expert, if we could chat about, what some of the other channels are doing. But first things first, Curt, how are you?
Doing fantastic. Things are rocking. Um,
Seems like they're rocking. Yeah,
never,
again,
never a dull moment right
still riding the high of the last week announcement. That was incredible. And I know here we're looking to do another one. So again, I guess to phrase it, and we'll dive into it a little deeper, but people asking, oh, you're above MTV, you're above Zoom, above these other ones. And people were asking what type of revenue numbers are they doing? And of course, I know just before we hit record, we were saying can't compare apples to apples, as there's a lot of other things happening, but kind of just wanted to give people a understanding of kind of, I guess, the industry and of the group you guys are in or just past, and how that might relate going forward down the line.
now. Sure. Um, well, I'll try not to get too far into the weeds because you can get pretty far into the weeds on this subject, but also try to give enough depth so that there's some understanding of where things are at. Basically, what I think I left off last time we spoke, I think I made the meme proclamation: ratings equal revenue. Okay, um, and that is true, but there's a lot of nuance underneath that as well. So ratings definitely equal revenue. The higher your ratings are, the greater the potential revenue is. To make sort of the math simple, one GRP, okay, one gross rating point, could roughly mean over the course on an annualized basis, somewhere between 1 crore of revenue, which is about 175,000 Canadian dollars, up to maybe 5 crores of revenue. So call it, 800,000
Yeah.
Canadian dollars. So call it 200 to 800,000 Canadian dollars per GRP. Okay. Why is there that range? Well, that range exists for a whole host of reasons. First one is it depends on if you're coming in the door as a major media company with a lot of channels and you're packaging and bundling everything together across your portfolio of channels. So if you're Star and you've got, whatever they've got, 15 channels, the one that's struggling a little bit, you're kind of forcing the advertiser and brand to come in on that, as well as with the granddaddy channel you've got. So they're bundling and packaging that all together. That's number one. Number two is who's the age demographic that you're targeting. It's same as in India as it is here. Basically, the 18 to 34-year-old demo tends to be the most coveted market. But there are also subsegments of that market that you have brands and advertisers that they want to get to be able to drive into that market. So that has an effect on what's happening as well. The third thing is that there are two different kinds of ad sales that happen in India. One is based on what's called ER, effective rate. And effective rate means that you just say, here's how much a 10 seconds of advertising is on our channel. It's 200 rupees or 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees or 1,500 rupees per 10 seconds. That effective rate can vary from as little as 150 or 200 rupees per 10 seconds, which is a couple bucks, to as high as 2,000 rupees or whatever that would be, 30 or 40 bucks per 10-second chunk. So you've got a major range that's affected by a lot of factors that deal with that. The final thing is, there's also the other type of advertising is what's called Cprp. That is where you sell at a rate, but it directly is affected by your rating. So if you sell it at 10 GRP, and your GRP ends up delivering when that ad runs at 20 GRP or twice as much, your rate for that doesn't go up exactly 100%, but it goes up, 80% or 70%, and that's a negotiation. So there's a lot of different levers that are involved. The final one is, where are you in the market? Are you an established channel? Have you been delivering 15 GRP week after week, month after month, year after year for the last, 10 years? Or are you an up and comer that's kind of taken off and really, developing fast in the market, which is more of where we are? And do you have brand relationships that exist through, I mean, the ad business is like almost every business at the end of the day, it's a relationship-based business. So a lot of it is, does your ad sales group know the guys at the agency or the brand that you're talking to? Is there a personal relationship there? Are they going to get there? So we sit in the middle of kind of all of that. And what's happened is that as we've risen just over this course of this last week, and hopefully as we continue to rise going forward, all sorts of things open up for us. There are certain brands that won't even look at a channel that's under 10 GRP. So when we were down at 4.4, as much as that was way above a bunch of other fledgling channels or smaller underperforming channels for big media groups or whatever they may have been, we were not able to get brands on board because you couldn't get new brands on board because they wouldn't even look at a channel that was under a 10. Okay. So we've broken through that barrier. We've had inbound calls just this last week as a result of hitting 13 that have called us for the first time and said, hey, we want to take a look at your channel. Will you come in and pitch to us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all this stuff that's opening up for us. And the final piece of sort of the revenue model is sponsorship. Like MTV makes a lot of their money out of a reality show called Roadies on MTV India. Well, I don't know what their sponsorship is, if it's like, $3 million a year or whatever the number is, it's a big number, but they've got a brand sponsor for that show that pays a huge flat fee just to be able to be Roadies presented by the presenting sponsor that then runs ads within that. So there's a lot of different things that are involved. The net of it all is, the higher our ratings go, the more opportunities for monetization of that open up for us.
Yeah, and we get questions around like the domino effect too. Like hypothetically, let's say a brand like Google says, "Oh, we want to advertise." Obviously, I'm assuming that makes the next conversations that much easier when these people come on board.
Yeah,
Assuming that's facts.
totally. I mean, look, as you can probably imagine, we are aggressively, I mean, very aggressively doing outreach and outbound reach right now. We always are. But now we're walking in the door and we're going like, look what we just did. And now the first thing they're going to be looking at is what happens this week and what happens the week after that. And so now, we're scrambling to make sure that we keep going up and keep rising. And that's the way the game works. Bottom line is that we're on the map right now for agencies and brands. It's clear. I mean, we've had inbound calls happening just in the last week that have gone up, I mean, it's just we're in a whole different world. And that doesn't mean that we're done and that, okay, here we are, we hit 13, boom, we passed those guys, we're great. We've now got to figure out how we keep that going and going and going.
Yeah, got it. So to give people some insight, and we've chatted, can't really compare apples to oranges here with a TV channel like MTV to the Q, but wanted to just chat in general about and guesstimates. I know that some of these numbers aren't public, but what a channel like MTV at a 6.0 or whatever last week is probably making in a year in revenue, just to get some interesting insight from you. I know again, not trying to give any type of guidance or anything like that, but just so many questions about revenue and, hey, what are these guys doing? And of course, MTV, like you said, has sponsorships, is established, has this other stuff, but just to chat about, what is a company or what is a channel like that kind of bringing in revenue wise?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know exactly, but given all the different sort of levers that they're pulling all the time, you're probably talking about $20-25 million for the one channel. Now, keep in mind, MTV's got MTV Beats, it's got VH1 there. There's a lot of different channels that fall out under the Viacom MTV brand. So it's somewhere in that range, most likely. They're probably doing, a couple to $2 to $3 million a month in revenues that are coming in from that one channel. It's part of why we also talk about rolling out additional channels, because MTV Beats, which is their channel that's on the free dish platform, gets a lot of play because of the fact that it's an MTV branded channel. We want to do the same thing where it's a Q branded channel, starts to have value and additional value for us as we grow. But I mean, like, you know, one of the channels that we're chasing right now, Big Magic, they're probably somewhere in that a couple million, you know, million and a
What's their
half,
rating, if you don't mind?
about 35, 30,
Okay.
35. They're probably in that million and a half to $2.5 million a month in revenues. Um, and the thing that people have to understand as well, I was just trying to remember what I was going to say, is the thing people have to understand is that's in India. Okay. In India, our costs are 1/5 the cost that it would cost to run a channel here in the United States. And $1 million in India is like $5 million here. So when you say $25 million, that's like saying 100, 125, maybe even $150 million in terms of currency comparison.
Yeah.
So, so when you get, you know, Jio, which is the granddaddy of businesses in the mobile space in India, they're not going to make anywhere near as much money in India in terms of top revenue as AT&T would here, you know,
Yeah.
or Verizon, because they don't. It's a different dollar. It's a different currency. So I'm talking about India-based dollars, not U.S. dollars. I'm talking about what it's driving in India. And when you take the cost factor against what that revenue is, then you've got to extrapolate pretty much everything by 5.
Well, so here I'm to give some people just some more examples. I mean, you know, obviously, you guys compare your ratings to, you know, Bindass, you know, owned by Disney, Zoom, which is Times of India. Curious what you expect those channels to be doing, but also now that you're at a 13, is there any channels that are, you know, between 10 and 15 that maybe you can give examples for? And again, I know this is comparing apples to oranges, but just
Yeah.
here's probably what they're making.
It's not really apples to oranges. There's one other factor that I think we've spoken about possibly, but the reason MTV, Bindos, and Zoom could all make the decision to drive their ratings higher by dropping getting sub fees from their existing carriers and go totally free, which is what we are. We believed from the very beginning that being a free channel, what's called an FTA, a free to air channel, and offering that channel for free was what was going to appeal to the audience that we were going for, which is a younger, you know, millennial Gen Z audience that we believe is accustomed to getting stuff for free and doesn't want to pay for things. Okay. MTV, Zoom, Bindos, and many others could give up the sub fee, that 4 rupees a month or 10 rupees a month or 20 rupees a month or whatever the number is that they're getting as a channel in order to go free to air like we are and drive higher ratings and higher revenues. The issue is if if you have 100 million people, okay, that you're going to that are paying you 5 rupees a month, that's 500 million rupees that you're bringing in from sub fees. So it makes it very hard for these guys to make the call and the decision. Are we going to go for it as a free to air channel or are we going to stay as a sub based channel? We
Yeah.
don't get those sub fees. Okay. So we're competing completely on ad sales. What's happening in the world of channels that are on free dish is, as we've spoken about before, free dish, you get a very disproportionate rating from free dish audiences, which directly translates into revenue. I mean, it's not like the agency and brands go, oh, it's free dish audience, so that's only that we're going to discount that. You know, maybe they discount it like 10% because it's rural India, not urban India, but it's not a massive difference. And the fact is that free dish has been a platform that has made new brands and new channels in India. One of those that we're chasing right now is called Big Magic. Big Magic is at 35. They're doing major revenue. We think we can catch up to them. We don't know how long that's going to take, but that's a new target for us. There's a channel called Zing that's between 18 and 20 GRP. It's a music oriented channel. That one's in our sites right now as well. There are bigger, higher channels up the food chain at 50 GRP to 60, 70 GRP. Dongle is one of them. If you go to India and ask anybody about Dongle, everybody knows Dongle. Dongle's doing like, what would be the equivalent in dollars? They're doing 150, they're doing like, God, I don't know, like 40, 50 million a year on that one channel in ad sales right now. Okay. 40 or 50 million just in ad sales. And
And they're at
so,
they're at 60, you said?
yeah, around 60.
Okay.
So, and that's down. They've dropped down a bit. So the most specific answer that I could give is, we expect to, I mean, in Q4 of last year, we did like in India, we did like 100 and I don't have the number exactly, I should know, but $125,000 or something in revenue in Q4. Okay. Q1 is also not going to like blow the doors down because all the deals we did in Q1 are going to show up in Q2 for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part. The thing that people have to understand is the ratings we're receiving right now, the 13 that we're receiving right now, is really going to primarily show up in the next quarter. Because you go to the agency, you go to the brand, you sell against that number, you set your rate against that number. Then you get the brand on board, you run the ad, you complete delivery of those ads, which could take a month or 6 weeks, and that's when you recognize the revenue. So as a general rule of thumb, what we use is the revenue from the ratings that we get this week show up roughly 3 months down the road. So everything's always trailing. So what you'll see from the revenue that we report in calendar Q1 that ended March 31st, that's for the ratings that we were getting in Q4.
Yeah.
Okay. It's an important thing to think about. Now, if someone can say, well, wait a minute, that's a problem. This is about growing. What I've said over and over again, people are going to see a massive spike in Q India revenues in the second half of the year. Okay. From July 1 on is when we're really going to see the impact from a financial basis of what we've been investing in.
Yeah, it makes sense. My question, and kind of interested. You're setting your rate against a certain, figure. These people that you signed, ad deals with, in theory, last quarter. Is there a renegotiation? Is there brands that come to you and say, "Oh, well, we expect you're going to grow, so we'll give you a small premium, in hopes that they're able to lock you guys down"? What's that conversation like?
Totally. It's all a negotiation. It's all a negotiation. The rating sets the table, if you will, for that negotiation. And it depends on demand. I mean, you can only show, if you want to pack it that full, 14 minutes of advertisements per hour. And there's only 24 hours in the day on the linear channel. So you have a limited capacity to be able to run ads. So the job of the ad sales force is to maximize every 10 seconds, because that's how they're sold, is in 10-second increments. Every 10 seconds is to maximize the revenue generated per 10 seconds of ad time on that channel. That's what the game at the end of the day is all about. And so what you want to do is not make commitments at prices that are too low before you can get a major brand to want to come in and say, no, we want to be on your channel. We want to reach your audience. You're the exact demographic we're going for. We see that you're gaining notoriety. No, we must be on your channel, Mr. Beverage, soft drink beverage, or car manufacturer, or clothing company, or whatever it might be. And so we're going to pay a premium in order to be able to do that. That's what we're doing. That whole process just started for us.
Got it. Well, some exciting videos to do going forward. Hopefully, as you guys, are successful in closing some of these deals, would love to, hear some more behind the scenes. But I think you covered a good part of it. Curt, thanks so much for hopping on. I think this was a good kind of overview, and I know we're gonna get more questions, but we can definitely do some more videos, and I can expect a Q&A video coming up again soon. We'll have to get Jace back.
Yeah.
But
I think the whole key for investors to know is that you can use ratings as a major metric to judge where our revenue is headed. If our ratings keep going up, you can make the very clear assumption that our revenue will be going up.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, hey, some good breadcrumbs there. And obviously we'll talk about hopefully some deals you guys get in the coming weeks or months.
Hope
But
so. We're working on it. Trust me.
awesome. Well, Curt, thanks so much for joining. Fingers crossed for some more rating bumps and other things this coming week. But anything else you want to leave people with?
No, just exciting times at Q.
Perfect. All right.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.